welcome to another episode of Brit Space. Today I'm going to be sharing 8 things I would tell my 20-year-old self. Now this video was very requested and I really liked the idea. Shout out to, I'm losing a bobby pin. Shout out to the people that gave me this idea. If you are not following me on Instagram, you should be. At Britnell, that is where I am most of the time. If you also are not subscribed, be sure to do that. Turn on notifications. Also be aware that my upload days are Tuesdays and Fridays, so if for some reason my videos don't show up in your subscription box, be sure to check in on Tuesday or Friday. Okay, so let's get into the video. I don't really know why I decided that 8 was the magic number. I just came up with 8 things I would tell my 20-year-old self. So, tip number 1 I would tell myself, loosen up. Comment below if you are a little type A, a little high strung. So when I was 20 years old, I was in college. I was majoring in elementary ed. I was in my tail end of college, and I was just so uptight. I remember I would just worry about school all day. I was the complete opposite of like the go-to stereotypical college student. I was not the one out partying, doing things like that. I was like always studying, always working on homework. And when I wasn't, I was generally uptight. Now, by no means am I saying I would tell my 20-year-old self to go crazy and do crazy things and like party all the time. But looking back on it, I'm like, that was probably one of the only times in my life when I wasn't going to have the level of responsibility that I have now. I should have just loosened up. Number 2, second thing I would tell myself, travel. So right out of high school, I decided to go on a trip to Europe. I saved up all of my money all through high school because I was pretty uptight and that's all I did was work. So right outside of high school, I went on this trip and I loved it. It was so fun. And then when I came back, I instantly went into college mode, college prep mode. I had graduated and I was like, okay, now I gotta, do the next thing. And I just wish I would have realized this is the best time to travel. And I don't know. I just would have told myself to travel more. Not that I can't travel now, but back then I had the least responsibility and I was still living at home, so I could have allotted more of my money to doing that. So advice for any of you if you are young, not that you can't travel when you get older, but when you are living at home and you're working and you are able to live like rent-free or mortgage-free, like travel, because this is the time to do that. Number 3, stop caring what everyone thinks. I would probably still tell myself that. I've gotten a lot better, but 20-year-old Brittany was very concerned about what people thought of me, what people were thinking in the moment, if just in general, what was the general consensus of what people were thinking about me. And I wish I could have just released that and just did me. I think some of that comes with maturity and age. Obviously, you grow a little bit, you go through some stuff, and you start to learn that you can't control what people think about you, whether it's true or not. You can only control yourself and your behavior, and people are gonna think what they're gonna think. So, Number 4. See people for who they are and not what you want them to be. I've said this in other videos before, and it's hard to explain this without sounding crusty, because I'm by no means saying like judge people and don't have compassion or grace or love for people. But what I mean is I spent a very large portion of my adulthood chasing after people that clearly did not really respect me or need me in their life or really value my friendship. I spent a lot of time seeing people for what I wanted them to be or what I thought they potentially could be versus what they were showing me. And I think that also comes with maturity and age. And my personality is just, I don't know, I don't know how to say this without sounding pretentious, because I'm by no means, it's not like a humble brag. I think I just have a problem with seeing people for what I want them to be versus what they're showing me. So I would have told my 20-year-old self, step back and look at the situation, look at the relationship, whether it's a friendship or a dating relationship, and see it for what it is, not for like the magical, what it could be if the stars aligned. I hope that makes sense. Number 5, use an eye cream. Yeah, use an eye cream. Honestly, I didn't start using an eye cream until late 20s, and it's not the biggest deal in the world, but if you are prone to dark circles, just use an eye cream. Use a good eye cream. Just do it. Whether you think you need it or not, when you get to be 30 plus, you'll look back and just be glad you did it, even if you don't think it matters. Take a few risks. Risk taking. And I don't mean irresponsible risks. I mean just coming out of my comfort zone. It has taken me a long time to do that, and a lot of times I had to be pushed out of my comfort zone. It was not something that I did on my own, but I realized that a lot of growth happens when you take risks and you push yourself out of your comfort zone, and the more you're willing to do that, like on your own, the easier it is versus being pushed to do it, and then it's kind of dramatic and scary, and yeah. So I would tell my 20-year-old self, try some new stuff. Don't be comfortable. Don't constantly seek or don't constantly avoid change. I feel like I spent a lot of my 20s trying to like dodge anything too scary and anything too risky, and now looking back, I'm just kind of like, I don't want to say I regret that, because you know it taught me a lot, you know, the way that I learned things, but yeah, just don't be afraid to take a few risks. Spend more time with your grandparents, and this is like hindsight is 2020, but my grandparents, full disclosure, they've all passed away, and I just think back to like how it wasn't that I didn't care about them, and I would go visit them, and once my grandma passed away, I definitely was more cognizant of like visiting my grandpa at the senior citizen home and surprising him, but I just wish I would have valued it a little bit more. You know, I feel like when you're young and youthful, you just don't think about it, and I hadn't really lost anyone super close to me before I lost my grandma, and that was many years ago, but I just remember being kind of like, I knew she was older and I knew eventually that would happen, but you know, you just kind of think like, oh, they'll still be around, like I have time. And I remember in my last conversation with her, I was kind of like rushy, you know, like she called and wanted to chat, and I was like, hi grandma, and like I wasn't mean, but I was just kind of like, I was like in the middle of something, and I just kind of didn't take it to heart, and I didn't really think about it, and that was like the last time I talked to her. I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer, but just looking back, I wish I would have valued the time I had with them a little bit more. I'm sure everyone can relate. Hindsight is 2020, but if your grandparents are still alive, I encourage you to spend time with them, whether it's a phone conversation or visiting them, because I don't know, it's when they're gone. So yeah. Wow, that just got real sad. Sorry. Last but certainly not least, the last thing that I would tell my 20-year-old self, number 8, go on more dates. What I mean is, I was so that person that once I found that one person, or like I was always just looking for my person, I was just kind of stuck, I would be stuck on, you know, the one person versus branching out and being like, hey, there's more fish in the sea. And I don't mean like serial dating or just like being crazy. I've always been very monogamous. I've always been very much so dating one person at a time. So I'm not at all advocating for, I mean, y'all do you, but for me personally, I'm not advocating for like dating multiple people at once or anything like that. But I do wish that I would have not set my sights on one thing and kind of just given myself more time to grow and mature and to just figure things out a little more. So, man, that got really vulnerable. I thought about this video idea and I was like, oh, that'll be pretty fun and easy, and I don't know, maybe I just go dive too deep. But anyway, so those are the 8 things I would tell my 20-year-old self. If you feel comfortable, comment below a few things you would tell your younger self if you could. Thank you guys so much for watching and also suggesting this video. Be sure to leave any other video suggestions in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching, and I will talk to you on the next video. Bye!